Have you ever watched your grandma fix something with a trick that made absolutely no sense, and then it worked perfectly? Before the internet and fancy store-bought products, rural America ran on pure resourcefulness, common sense, and whatever was already in the kitchen cabinet. Today we're exploring 30 oddly useful hillbilly household tricks that people swore by, and for good reason. Let's start with WD-40 for wasp nests. If you grew up in the country, you knew wasps were just part of summer, but instead of buying expensive sprays from the hardware store, folks would grab a can of WD-40 and blast the nest from a safe distance. The oily mist coated their wings and suffocated them almost instantly. WD-40 was originally developed by the Rocket Chemical Company in 1953 as a rust prevention solvent for Atlas missile covers. It took them 40 attempts to get the formula right, which is where the name comes from, water displacement, 41st formula. The product first hit store shelves in 1958, and by the 1990s, a can could be found in 4 out of 5 American households. People kept one on the porch all summer long, right next to the sweet tea. It was cheaper than bug spray and twice as satisfying. Mayonnaise to remove water rings. Every family had that one aunt who would lose her mind over a white ring on the coffee table from a sweating glass. The fix was a big old glob of mayonnaise smeared right on the stain and left overnight. By morning, you wiped it off and the ring was gone. The oils in the mayo penetrated the wood finish and displaced the trapped moisture that caused the white mark. This trick was passed down through generations, long before furniture polish companies started selling specialized products. Hellmann's or Duke's, it didn't matter. If it was real mayonnaise and not that salad dressing stuff, it did the job. Some folks even swore that full fat worked better than light, and honestly, they were probably right. The thicker the mayonnaise, the better it penetrated the finish. It's one of those tricks your mama taught you that actually holds up under scrutiny. Coca-Cola to clean a toilet. Nothing confused city visitors more than watching someone pour a 2-liter of Coke into the toilet bowl and walk away. But the phosphoric and citric acids in Coca-Cola are strong enough to dissolve mineral buildup and rust stains. You'd pour it around the rim, let it sit for an hour or overnight, then scrub and flush. The trick was popular for decades, especially in areas with hard water. A bottle of Coke cost pennies compared to bathroom cleaners, and people joked that if Coke could do that to a toilet, imagine what it was doing to your stomach. Coca-Cola has been around since 1886, and folks have probably been pouring it into toilets nearly as long. Some people even used it to clean battery terminals on their trucks. Dryer sheets to repel mosquitoes. Before citronella candles became a backyard staple, people in the South were tucking dryer sheets into their pockets, belt loops, and hat bands. Bounce sheets, in particular, became the go-to mosquito repellent at cookouts and fishing trips. A study published in Hort Science in 2010 by researchers at Kansas State University confirmed that bounce sheets do repel certain insects, particularly fungus gnats. The key compounds are linalool and beta-citronellol, both naturally found in plants like lavender and citronella. The concentration in dryer sheets is low compared to commercial repellents, but people weren't looking for perfection. They were looking for something that cost under $2 a box and kept the bugs manageable while they enjoyed their fried catfish. You'd see folks at every summer cookout with little white sheets sticking out of their pockets like flags of surrender to the humidity. Bag balm for everything. Originally created in 1899 in Lyndonville, Vermont, bag balm was meant to soothe cracked and irritated cow udders, but farm families quickly discovered it worked on just about anything, including chapped hands, diaper rash, minor cuts, and even squeaky door hinges. The green tin with the red clover became a medicine cabinet staple in rural households across America. According to bag balm lore, farmers' wives noticed how soft their husbands' hands were after milking and started using it themselves. The famous CBS journalist Charles Kuralt even did a segment on bag balm in 1983, reporting that over 400,000 tins were being shipped every year. During World War II, soldiers used it to protect weapons from corrosion. After September 11th, rescue dogs had it rubbed on their paws to soothe burns and cracking. Country folks didn't need a doctor to tell them what they already knew. That little green tin is still made in Vermont to this day, using nearly the same formula as 1899. Before we move on, I'd like to ask a small favor. If you're enjoying this trip down memory lane, a like and a subscribe truly helps us continue making these videos for you. We really appreciate it. Vinegar in the laundry. Long before fabric softener was a thing, grandmothers were adding a cup of white vinegar to the rinse cycle. It softened clothes, removed odors, and even helped set colors so they wouldn't bleed. The acetic acid in vinegar broke down detergent residue that made clothes feel stiff on the clothesline. A gallon of white vinegar cost next to nothing through the 1960s and 1970s, and it lasted through dozens of loads. People washed everything from overalls to quilts this way. And no, your clothes didn't smell like a pickle jar once they dried. The vinegar scent evaporated completely during the drying process, leaving behind nothing but clean, soft fabric. It's the kind of trick that makes you wonder why people ever stopped using it. Baking soda paste for bug bites. When a mosquito, fire ant, or wasp got you good, the immediate response in any country household was to mix baking soda with a few drops of water into a thick paste. You slapped it right on the bite, and within minutes, the sting and itch started fading. The alkaline nature of baking soda neutralized the acidic compounds in the venom. A box of Arm & Hammer cost about $1 and sat in every kitchen in America. Mothers would mix it up without even looking, like second nature. It wasn't fancy, but it beat scratching yourself raw until you bled. Baking soda was the original first aid kit for half of America. Pennies in a bag of water to keep flies away. This one looked absolutely ridiculous, but people swore by it. You'd fill a clear plastic sandwich bag halfway with water, drop in 4 or 5 pennies, and hang it near doorways or over picnic tables. The most popular theory is that the refracted light overwhelms and confuses a fly's compound eyes, which are made up of thousands of tiny lenses sensitive to light changes. Restaurants across the South and Mexico hung these bags for years. The Tennessee Farm Bureau even wrote about the practice. Mythbusters declared it busted, and a North Carolina State University study found mixed results. But try telling that to the folks who saw their porch go fly-free. It cost practically nothing and became a warm weather tradition across rural America. You'd see them hanging from porches, barn doors, and restaurant patios from Texas to the Carolinas. meat tenderizer for bee stings. Getting stung by a bee was practically a rite of passage for country kids. And in most households, the remedy wasn't a trip to the medicine cabinet, but a trip to the spice rack. Meat tenderizer, mixed with a little water into a paste, was applied directly to the sting. The enzyme papain, which comes from papaya, was believed to break down the proteins in the venom that cause pain and swelling. This remedy appeared in the Journal of the American Medical Association as far back as 1972, when Dr. Harry Arnold recommended mixing a quarter teaspoon of tenderizer with a teaspoon of water. It became gospel in rural households and stayed there for decades. A little shaker of Adolph's meat tenderizer in the spice cabinet wasn't just for steaks. Tobacco poultice for stings and bites. If meat tenderizer wasn't handy, there was another option that was even more country. Grandpa would take a pinch of chewing tobacco or tear open a cigarette, wet it with his own spit, and press it directly onto a bee sting, wasp sting, or even a spider bite. The tobacco poultice drew out the sting and eased the pain almost instantly. Generations of farm kids grew up with a wad of wet tobacco held to their arm with a Band-Aid. It looked disgusting and smelled worse, but nobody cared when the burning stopped. The practice has been around for centuries, likely adapted from Native American remedies. Modern science hasn't fully endorsed it, but millions of grandparents will tell you it works just fine. And when Grandpa said, "Hold still," you held still, whether you liked the smell or not. Newspaper for cleaning windows. Long before microfiber cloths existed, every grandmother in America cleaned her windows with crumpled up newspaper and a spray of white vinegar. The ink and paper fibers acted as a mild abrasive that left glass streak-free and sparkling. Paper towels left lint behind, but newspaper didn't. This trick was standard practice throughout the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, back when you had a fresh paper delivered to your door every morning. Once you finished reading the news, it had a second life as a cleaning tool. Some folks said the Sunday edition worked best because of the thicker pages. The trick faded as newspaper subscriptions declined, but anyone who tried it remembers how well it actually worked. It was one of the best 2-for-1 deals going, free news and free window cleaner. Butter on a burn. In the old days, if you touched a hot stove or grabbed a pan handle without a towel, somebody was slathering butter on that burn before you could even finish hollering. Every farm wife had a stick of butter ready in the kitchen, and it was first aid as much as it was a cooking ingredient. The idea was that the fat would cool the skin and soothe the pain. Now, doctors today will tell you this actually traps heat and can make a burn worse, and they're right. Cold running water is the proper treatment. But for decades, butter was the standard remedy. It's a perfect example of a trick that everyone believed in, even though science eventually set the record straight. Old habits really do die hard when they've been passed down through 3 or 4 generations. Salt to put out a grease fire. Every country cook knew this one instinctively. If the skillet caught fire, you never threw water on it. Water on a grease fire creates a fireball. Instead, you grabbed the box of Morton salt and dumped it right on the flames. Salt smothers a grease fire by cutting off the oxygen supply. Some folks used baking soda for the same reason. This was life-saving knowledge passed from mother to daughter in kitchens across rural America. No fire extinguisher needed, though having one was always a good idea. The trick saved countless homes and probably a few eyebrows too. It's the kind of knowledge that you hoped you'd never need, but were grateful to have when the moment came. Which of these do you remember most? Share your favorites in the comments. Vicks Vapo Rub on your feet for a cough. This one sounds completely made up, but millions of people swore by it. If you had a stubborn nighttime cough, your mama would scoop out a dollop of Vicks Vapo Rub, slather it all over the bottoms of your feet, and then pull on a pair of thick socks. Within 20 minutes, the coughing stopped. Vicks has been around since the early 1890s, originally created by a North Carolina pharmacist named Lunsford Richardson. He originally sold it through his drugstore and marketed it as a topical rub for chest congestion. Nobody could explain exactly why the feet trick worked, but the theory was that the menthol and eucalyptus absorbed through the skin and calmed the cough reflex. Pediatricians didn't officially recommend it, but grandmothers didn't care about official recommendations. If it worked, and that was the end of the conversation. Toothpaste on a pimple. Before acne creams lined the shelves at every drugstore, teenagers in rural America had one reliable overnight remedy, and it was sitting right by the bathroom sink. A dab of white toothpaste applied to a pimple before bed was supposed to dry it out by morning. The idea was that ingredients like baking soda and hydrogen peroxide in older toothpaste formulas could absorb oil and reduce inflammation. Dermatologists have since pointed out that toothpaste can also irritate the skin, but that didn't stop an entire generation from doing it. Every kid who grew up before the 1990s can tell you about going to sleep with little white dots on their face. Some still do it to this day, and honestly, considering what fancy acne treatments cost now, who can blame them? A bar of soap under the sheets for leg cramps. If you've never heard of this one, you're about to think we made it up. But millions of people across the country placed an unwrapped bar of soap under their fitted sheet near the foot of the bed to prevent nighttime leg cramps. Ivory and Dial were the most commonly mentioned brands. Nobody could explain why it worked, and scientific studies have never found a definitive mechanism. Some speculated it had to do with the magnesium in certain soaps, or simply a placebo effect. But when you ask anyone over 60 who tried it, they'll tell you the cramps stopped. Ann Landers even mentioned the trick in her newspaper column, and that was good enough for America. Sometimes the best medicine doesn't come from a pharmacy. Cornstarch for chafing. Long before there were fancy powders and anti-chafe products on the market, farmers and anyone who worked outdoors in the heat relied on good old-fashioned cornstarch. A generous dusting between the thighs, under the arms, or anywhere skin rubbed against skin kept you dry and friction-free all day. Cornstarch absorbs moisture just as well as talcum powder, and it was a fraction of the cost. Every kitchen had a box of it, usually Argo brand. Mothers dusted babies with it. Daddies used it before heading out to the fields, and nobody thought twice about it. It was practical, it was cheap, and it worked from sunup to sundown. In the summer heat, a box of cornstarch was worth its weight in gold. Aluminum foil to sharpen scissors. When the sewing scissors got dull and there wasn't a knife sharpener in sight, you just grabbed a sheet of aluminum foil, folded it over a few times to make it thick, and then cut through it several times with the scissors. The foil acted as a very mild abrasive on the blades, smoothing out tiny nicks and burrs along the cutting edge. It wouldn't replace a proper sharpening, but it absolutely gave dull scissors new life in a pinch. This trick was passed around sewing circles and quilting groups for years. Reynolds Wrap aluminum foil has been sold since 1947, and it's had a dozen uses beyond the kitchen in every rural household. Sharpening scissors was just one of many. A crayon to fill nail holes. If you had small nail holes in your walls and didn't want to buy spackle, the Hillbilly fix was simple. Find a crayon that matched the wall color, warm it up slightly, and rub it right into the hole. The wax filled the gap and blended in surprisingly well. Crayola crayons have been around since 1903 and come in enough colors to match just about any paint shade. This trick was especially popular among renters trying to get their security deposit back. It wasn't a permanent fix, but from a few feet away, you'd never know the difference. Hardware store trips avoided, problem solved. That's Hillbilly ingenuity at its finest. Aspirin in the washing machine for whites. Before bleach became common, grandmothers kept their whites white by dissolving a few aspirin tablets in the wash water. You'd crush up 5 or 6 regular aspirin, dissolve them in hot water, and soak your white clothes for a few hours before washing as usual. The salicylic acid in aspirin helped break down stains and remove the dingy yellow tinge that white fabrics develop over time. This was especially popular in the days when men wore white undershirts and dress shirts every single day. A bottle of aspirin cost almost nothing compared to specialty laundry products. It's one of those tricks that sounds like nonsense until you try it and see the results hanging on the clothesline, bright white and looking brand new. Peanut butter to remove gum from hair. Every parent's worst nightmare was a kid who came home with chewing gum stuck in their hair. Before you reached for the scissors, the country remedy was to work a generous glob of creamy peanut butter into the gum. The natural oils in peanut butter broke down the sticky base of the gum, making it slide right out without pulling or cutting. You'd massage it in, wait a few minutes, then comb through. The hair would need a good washing afterward, but at least it was all still attached. Jiffy, Skippy, Peter Pan, it didn't matter the brand. Every jar of peanut butter in the pantry doubled as a hair-saving emergency kit. Among these 30 tricks, which one surprised you the most? White bread to pick up broken glass. When a glass shattered on the kitchen floor, especially on linoleum where tiny shards scattered everywhere, country moms had a trick the broom couldn't match. You'd take a thick slice of white bread and press it firmly over the area. The soft bread picked up the tiniest slivers of glass that a broom or even a vacuum would miss. This was especially important in households where kids ran around barefoot. A piece of Wonder Bread might have been the cheapest safety tool in the house. You'd toss the bread straight into the trash and know the floor was safe for little bare feet. Simple, effective, and it cost about 2 cents a slice. Steel wool in a mouse hole. If you found where mice were getting into the house, the quickest Hillbilly fix was to stuff the hole with steel wool. Mice can chew through wood, plastic, and even some metals, but they won't chew through steel wool because it shreds their mouths. A pad of Brillo or SOS stuffed into the gap stopped mice cold. Some folks mixed the steel wool with a bit of caulk to make it permanent. This trick was standard pest control in rural America for decades before professional exterminators became common. A box of steel wool pads cost less than $1 and protected the whole house better than any fancy trap. It was the cheapest exterminator in the county. A wet newspaper to defrost a windshield. On cold winter mornings, before remote start and heated windshields, country folks had their own method. The night before a freeze, you'd lay sections of wet newspaper across the windshield and let them freeze in place. In the morning, you peeled off the newspaper and the ice came right with it. The paper created a barrier between the glass and the ice, and the moisture in the paper bonded to the frost rather than the windshield. It was quicker than scraping and saved the defroster from working overtime. All you needed was yesterday's paper and 30 seconds of preparation the night before. Country folks always planned ahead because they had to. Cooking oil on a squeaky door hinge. Every old farmhouse had at least one door that screamed every time you opened it. And while WD-40 was the obvious fix, not everyone had a can handy. The backup plan was a few drops of cooking oil, usually whatever was sitting on the kitchen counter. Crisco, vegetable oil, even olive oil if you were feeling fancy. You'd work it into the hinge pin and swing the door back and forth until the squeak stopped. It wasn't a permanent fix like a proper lubricant, but it got you through the night without waking the whole house. Every farm wife knew this trick. Sometimes the simplest answer is the one sitting right next to the stove. And it always has been. Dishwashing liquid to kill garden pests. Country gardeners didn't run to the store for pesticides when aphids or other bugs showed up on their tomato plants. They mixed a tablespoon or two of regular dish soap, usually Dawn, into a spray bottle of water and went to work. The soapy water broke down the waxy coating on soft-bodied insects like aphids, whiteflies, and spider mites, causing them to dehydrate and die. It didn't harm the plants, and it sure didn't harm the budget. This homemade insecticidal soap was a staple of backyard gardens across America. It cost practically nothing, didn't poison the vegetables, and worked just as well as the expensive stuff. Your grandma's garden probably smelled faintly of lemon-scented Dawn, and her tomatoes were the envy of the neighborhood because of it. Duct tape to remove splinters. Out in the country, getting a splinter was as common as breathing. Working with old barn wood, fence posts, or splitting firewood meant tiny slivers of wood embedded in your skin on a regular basis. The hillbilly method for removal was to press a piece of duct tape firmly over the splinter, wait a moment, then rip it off. The tape grabbed the end of the splinter and pulled it right out. No tweezers, no needle, no drama. Duct tape has been a rural fix-all since World War II, when it was originally developed as a waterproof sealing tape for ammunition cases. By the 1950s, every toolbox, kitchen drawer, and glove compartment in rural America had a roll. As they used to say, if you can't fix it with duct tape, you haven't used enough. Chewed tobacco on a fishing hook for catfish. This one is pure country through and through. Old-timers swore that adding a pinch of chewed tobacco to your bait, whether it was a worm, chicken liver, or stink bait, attracted catfish better than anything money could buy. The theory was that the strong scent of the tobacco, mixed with all that spit, created an irresistible aroma that catfish couldn't ignore. Whether it actually worked better than regular bait is debatable, but it was a deeply held belief passed down through generations of Southern fishermen. Sitting on a creek bank at dusk, chewing red man and baiting hooks, that was as good as life got for a lot of folks. And if the fish were biting, nothing else in the world mattered. Dishwasher detergent to clean the driveway. Oil stains on a concrete driveway were an eyesore, but hillbilly ingenuity had a solution that didn't involve renting a pressure washer. You'd sprinkle powdered dishwasher detergent, usually Cascade, directly on the stain, add a little hot water, and scrub it with a stiff broom. The enzymes and surfactants in the detergent cut through the grease and lifted the oil out of the concrete. Let it sit for 15 or 20 minutes, then hose it down. It wouldn't always get the stain completely, but it made a noticeable difference. Mechanics and shade tree grease monkeys used this trick for decades, and some still swear by it today. Why buy a fancy degreaser when the answer is under the kitchen sink? Rubbing alcohol to remove permanent marker. When a kid got hold of a Sharpie and went to town on the kitchen counter or the good table, rubbing alcohol was the country mom's secret weapon. A little isopropyl on a cotton ball or rag dissolved the ink from permanent marker on most hard surfaces, including laminate, glass, and finished wood. It also worked on skin, which was handy when those same kids decided to give themselves tattoos. A bottle of rubbing alcohol cost less than $1 at any drugstore and sat in every medicine cabinet next to the mercurochrome and the Band-Aids. It was a household staple that pulled double duty as a cleaner without anyone ever marketing it that way. It was one of those things you didn't think about until you absolutely needed it, and then it saved the day. The best solutions are usually already somewhere in the house. Thanks for joining us on this trip down memory lane. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and share it with a friend who grew up knowing that the best solutions were always already sitting somewhere in the house. And don't forget to subscribe.